I'd like to give a huge thank you to NewwayEnglish.tv for sponsoring this video. Tips. Yes, I promised you last week that I would give you some basic tips about how to train your dog. Now, of course, it takes months and a lot of practice and a lot of patience to train your dog. But I'll give you a few things today that you can start using immediately, and I'm sure that in a very short period of time, you'll see some differences with your dog. So I hope this helps. So here we go. Trevor's canine tips. Number one. Some of them I talked about. Okay, not number one yet. First, all right, we have one more vocab here. I should have deleted this one, I think. All right, it's syllables. We talked about it earlier. So yeah, we should have done that before. I don't know why. Oh, I remember why, because it's part of tip one. Okay. So syllables is the amount of, what do you call that? Intonations, right? So intelligent, earlier we were talking about syllables, right? Syllables. How many sounds there are in a word, okay? So intelligent, right? Acrobat. 2, only 1 syllable, right? High, 1 syllable. On, off, 1 syllable. The reason I say this is because think about the name you will give your dog. Short names, 1 or 2 syllables, are better, like Piper, Pepper, Max, Toby. It helps get their attention, right? If you call your dog Alfonso Margarita the 7th, the dog's going to think you're crazy. Like I said, chaotic world for dogs, all right? You want to keep the vocabulary very small, okay? This is why the basic, and there's a lot of commands. We're not going to go into all the different things you can do, because there's a lot. You can teach your dog to play dead, you know, and teach them the word bang, and all kinds of different fun things you can do once you get used to training a dog. But at first, the basics, right? Sit, down, stay, off, heel, right? They're all 1 syllable words, right? It makes it easier for the dog to remember these words, all right? So when you're naming a dog, try to keep it simple.
Mimi, I have a dog, but it's so stupid, so I wonder if you can help her.
Yeah, well, see now, that's the problem, isn't it? What did we say last week? Who's stupid? You better pay attention and take notes. All right, so again, keep it really simple. Now, even if you have dogs and you've had the dog for 5 years, you can still apply some of the things I'm going to tell you today. And I promise you, if you do it the way I tell you to do it, you will see small changes in the dog. All right, so another thing that we talked about last week. So number one, keep it simple, right? All the words you use, simple. Yeah, because we're just going to go to what I'm talking about here, the tips now. There's no vocab anymore. There's no more vocab here. We're just going to go through the tips. All right. Yes. Uh-oh.
Matt.
Who, Matt?
I'm not sure. Maybe you have to give another tip for Margareta. I was bitten by a dog because I ran away when it was barking.
Yeah.
Will all breed of dog catch us when we are running away from them? Won't they chase us if we keep stay calmly?
Yeah. That's a really good question. And unfortunately, there are many people everywhere in the world that do not understand the dog, and the dog does not know how to behave. But if you want to take this to a dog psychology level, all right, this is what happens. All animals, even if you run into a wild bear, okay, or a lion or a tiger in the wild. If they're hungry, you don't have a choice. You're in big trouble, and maybe running is the only chance you have, or a big cliff. But a rule of thumb is not to run, because it is an animal's automatic instinct. If someone runs away, you run after it. Even if you're playing with your dog and it's a very friendly dog and you run, the dog's going to chase you. It thinks you're playing. It's just instinctive. So, I'm really sorry that you got bit by a dog. Even here in Da Nang, beautiful Da Nang, we go for walks a lot. And it seems at nighttime, of course, instinctively dogs become very protective of their homes, and a lot of dogs are tied up. Their temperaments are not controlled, so they're very aggressive. And sometimes dogs come running out at us. And honestly, what I do is I actually stop and I look at them. Sometimes I even get down and try to, not pet them, but try to get them to smell my hand. And they might sit there and they keep barking. But what's funny is sometimes they bark and their tail is still going like this. It's a bluff. But if I run, I saw the same dog that does this to me every time I walk by, and I always stop. I saw the same dog chasing a guy running down the street, trying to bite his leg. Instinctive. I hate to say don't run away from an aggressive dog, but I have to say don't run, just stare it down and get ready to kick it if it tries to bite you. Because you cannot outrun a dog. Even if it's a Chihuahua, it doesn't matter. The dog has got 4 legs, you've got 2. He runs much faster. You can't outrun it. I hope that answers your question. And again, sorry you got bit. And do some kung fu. Okay. Now, we talked about this one already. We're almost done. I'm not going to do 2. I hope we're not doing 2 hours. What time is it? How long have we been doing this now? So an hour and a half, almost. I talk too much. What can I do? That's what they keep telling me. You know why it's so long, Trevor? Because you never stop talking. What can I do? I said it last week. Have a family meeting before you bring a new furry friend home. Decide what they can and can't do. For example, are they allowed on the bed or the furniture? Are there rooms that are off limits? I said it last week. I'm going to say it again really quick. You're not going to be able to train your dog at all, Mimi, if you don't sit down with mom and dad, brothers and sisters, aunt and uncles, grandma and grandpa, and make some rules. First of all, it amazes me how many people I've met that didn't even give their dog a name. It's just the dog. Okay. And you wonder why the dog is biting people. Okay? You got to sit down with the family and decide. If you can't communicate with your family on what the dog can and can't do and what its name is, don't even bother, because you can't train it. All right? So it's number 1. Because imagine, if you're trying to get your dog to understand that he's not allowed on the sofa, or you're trying to get the dog to stop jumping on grandma every time she comes over, or you're trying to get the dog to sit down and stop barking at people, everybody in the house has to use the same word consistently every day forever, or the dog will never learn. Consistency. Decide what you're going to do with your family before you try to train a dog. Next. Okay. Now, let's say you actually did have a little meeting with the family and you all agreed, okay, let's give this a try. Let's see if we can work with this dog and understand the dog. Okay, so one of the first things you have to realize is a dog needs its own space too. Okay? Now, dogs need a private place too. Think about building a dog house, a kennel, or buying a kennel, I guess it would be, and maybe even a dog bed in the house, right? When I had dogs, and I had an apartment, and I had 3 dogs, they all had little They all had their own little lay down areas. I just used nice rough blankets and I folded them up because it was easy to shake them outside and clean the hair off it. But every time they were being bad, I'd just bring the dog and make him sit there and make him stay for a while. Eventually, every time I walked in the house, he's always laying on his blanket. It was his place. We'd have guests come over, watch movies, eat popcorn. Popcorn, I love popcorn. And the dogs would stay in their bed unless they wanted to go out or something. They learnt, okay? Consistency. The other thing is, if your dog's gonna spend a lot of time outdoors, get a dog house, build a dog house. It's not that difficult. I was building them when I was 10 years old. If you don't want to, you could buy what's called a kennel. Now, I don't like kennels, sorry. I didn't like the idea of kennels. I thought it was mean. Why would I get a dog and put the dog in a cage? That's not what it is, actually. It's when you're training them at first and they're in the house, you put them in the kennel and the dog gets used to it like a little home. It's not a jail. And then when you're home, you let the dog out. It also helps them potty train, house train, so they don't do things in the kitchen floor, because they won't do nothing like that in the area where they sleep. They learn to hold themselves until you come back, okay? So these are great ways to help the dog relax and get away from all the stress, right? Half the time we had kennels in the house, and often, where's the dogs? And the door would be wide open, but they would be laying down in the kennel because they were just comfortable there. It's just a good way to train dogs. All right, so these are options that you can do, you can use having a dog live in your house. Okay, next. Now this tip is just common sense, right? Always let your dog know when they're doing something right. Reward them. Ignore them when they behave badly. Okay, so I'll give you a little example. My shepherd, the last one I had, was a very big dog. And when he jumped up, the dog literally put his paws on my shoulder and looked at me straight eye to eye. So he was a big dog. Now, I loved it when the dog jumped up on me. It was cool. I was rough with him, she was rough with me, and I was rough with her. It was fine. But never did the shepherd jump on anybody else in the house or any guests, okay? And it's really simple. Anytime the dog tried to jump, at first, completely ignored the dog. Completely ignored the dog. As soon as the dog began to sit down, because eventually he will, then we rewarded him and gave them treats. Reinforcing the good behavior. Ignoring the bad behavior. This takes weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Not you do it and I don't do it and then she does it and he doesn't do it. It doesn't work that way. Everybody has to do it. It will come, but it takes time, okay? So when they do something right, reward them, pet them, scratch their ears, they love that. Give them a treat. But when they're doing something bad, completely ignore them. Don't pay any attention to them. Next. Next tip. Back to commands. Be consistent and use the same words. Don't be confused with down and off. Okay, so there's just a couple of little things again. Like I said, if you're gonna say sit is sit, and it means sit down, and stay is stay, means don't move, and down means lay down, everybody has to use the same word. You can't go in the house and tell the dog, get off the sofa. And the other person comes in the house, get off the sofa. And the other person says, you dumb, get out. And the other one says, no! And the other one kicks the couch. It doesn't work. Same, okay? And keep the words nice and easy, consistently. Down and off, all right? Dog is on the sofa. Don't say down. Down means lay down. Say off. If the dog is jumping on you, say down to get off. That way, right? Because there's a difference between get off of something or lay down, right? So you have to make sure, again, everybody's using the same commands. All right, we're almost done. Another tip. Okay, now this is a big one, and this is the biggest mistake I've made when I was younger, and the biggest mistake I see most people do. You can only punish a dog for doing something wrong when they do it, meaning you have to see it. It has to be right now, okay? Again, you got to think dog psychology, dog time, right? They do not remember what they did 5 minutes ago. Coming home and getting angry because the dog chewed your shoe hours ago and then hitting the dog with the shoe has no idea that anything has to do with the shoe. It's all about the action at the moment. All right, and I'm going to tell you how to fix this, because that's the biggest problem. Well, it's easy to say, but what do I do? I'm going to tell you what you can do. Next. The best tool I have ever used in my life with dogs. And all it is a can of soda pop, like a Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever. Finished, of course, nothing in it. And you can use coins, okay, maybe 5 to 10, depending how big the coins are. If you don't have coins, which is a problem in some countries, you can use washers. When you screw in a screw and you have that little ring with a hole in it to a spacer between the screw and the wall, you can type it in, washer, W-A-S-H-E, for screws, yeah, washer. What happens is this. You put them inside the can, and when you shake it, it rattles, and it's a high-pitched sound. Dogs don't like it because they have sensitive ears and sensitive noses. What I did was that, okay, before I explain this, I'm going to explain again about how you have to punish a dog when he's doing it. You have to make sure the dog understands exactly what's happening at the moment and associates it to the action. Example, if I'm sitting down next to the dog and he starts chewing on a shoe, for example, or chewing on the sofa or the blanket, something, I will slide my hand slowly under his chin so he doesn't see it, and I'll give him a slap under the chin. The dog's like, the shoe slapped me. What's going on? Dog psychology, right? Understand what you're dealing with. What kind of shoe is this? This is unbelievable. That's all he understands. Why do you think newspaper boys and mailmen get bit all the time, all around the world? When people deliver things at your house and the dogs bite them. Because the dogs are so used to seeing a hand coming, smack, 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 smack. So when a stranger comes and someone puts a hand down or pets or delivers something, same motion, and the dog thinks it's a threat. But that person is not his master or her master. The dog bites. Whose fault? Is it the dog's fault? Exactly. So, best tool in the world. But yeah. I know, I talk too much. What can I do?
Max say that I play coins with cat.
I play coins with cats?
But cat not scare. Doesn't. The cat doesn't scare.
This works with cats because I've done it to my cats. And I can keep my cats off the counter. I could keep them off the counters and the sofa. It works. What you do is you put the coins or the washers in the coin. It makes a really annoying sound for dogs, especially dogs. I don't know about cats. So what I did is I always kept it on the counter. So many things. My dog used to love digging holes in the backyard. Well, sure. At first, I'd go downstairs, open the dog. Jesse, what are you doing? Look at me. What's your problem? I'd go back upstairs, dig in again. Jesse, stop it. Go outside and chase him everywhere and catch him. What? He doesn't understand why I'm yelling at him. So I fixed him. Her. I put the can at the window. And every time that dog started digging, I took the can, opened the window, and I threw the can as hard as I could and smack the dog with the can. It doesn't hurt them. It's light. It doesn't hurt at all. But it scares them with the noise. So again, just like the little slap under the chin. I'm digging and I'm having a good time, and all of a sudden, kabang, kabang, what the? I don't see anybody. I can't associate it to my owner. What's going on? Nobody here? What the? Scare the crap out of the dog again. Guess what? A couple of weeks later, no more holes in my backyard. The dog started associating digging with a really annoying smack in my head and a noise that made me crazy. Right? How to get the dog to stop sleeping on my sofa. And he loved my corner too. I'd come home and he'd look right at me like, what do you think you want? It was his sofa, her sofa. Okay, so every time he wasn't looking at me, I'd take the can, ting. What the? Every time the dog got on the sofa, a can came flying across the room. I'd look at the dog and I'd have fun. What you looking at me for? I didn't do nothing. Dog stopped getting on my sofa. It's as simple as that. All right, there are tricks. Try this, it works. Okay, I've talked too long. Everybody's ready to pull out their guns and have a showdown. So, we got any more? No, we just have the final statement here, huh? So again, the can, the best tool ever. I could give you more examples, but I have run out of time. Like I say, it scares them. You can't hurt the dog with a little can, throwing it in the air and hitting them. As hard as you want to throw it, you're not going to hurt the dog, so don't be afraid. But you'll want to scare it the second the dog is doing something it is not supposed to do. And it works. All right. If you want more, send me an email. I'll tell you more. Last, that's it. We're just about done here. Just want you to remember a couple things to finish up. All right, here we go. So remember, dogs need to run and play. Put them to work and they'll be happy. If you just tie them up all day, they're gonna go crazy. Okay, you gotta take them for walks in the morning and you gotta take them for walks in the evening, at least twice a day. Teach them how to fetch a tennis ball. They love to run. Go to the park, throw the ball. It might take a few weeks. He won't come back with the ball. But that's okay. Eventually he will, because, again, have a cookie. Every time the dog comes back, give him a little treat. The dog will come back. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Okay? And then eventually, you'll go out, have a cup of coffee, sit there in a chair, throw the ball 10 times. The dog will run, come back, run, come back, run, come back. The dog will let you know when he's tired. And guess what? You don't have a crazy dog anymore. Dog goes home, he goes to sleep. Job done. Great dog. Yeehaw. Just like that. All right.
So that you. I think you can do episode 6, 7, 8.
No, we're done.
With your wife.
No more dogs. Next week we're going to robots. That's right. Okay. They call dogs man's best friend. And now they equally say that dogs are women's best friend. What you need to remember is that you are, why I can never read that. I gotta read this one now. What you need to remember is that you are the dog's best friend. Just look at the unconditional love they give you every time they see you, all right? You are as responsible to take care of that dog as the dog will give its life to take care of you. It is unconditional. Even a bad owner, the dog still wags his tail and welcomes that person home. Doesn't deserve that person, but still loves that person and would do anything for that person. So think about it. You are your dog's best friend. So treat them the same, okay? So that's it for today. It's the end of our show. I told you it'd be shorter. All right, so as always, invest in yourself, and good night from Newway and its staff and everybody else here. Take care.